Hello and thanks for joining us. Tributes are being paid to the South African singer and songwriter Johnny Clegg, who died this week aged 66. He was one of the few white artists to openly confront the apartheid government in the late 70s and 80s. Nicholas Germain reports.
Johnny Clegg was nicknamed the White Zulu. He defied the apartheid's racist laws by playing music with black South Africans and singing in local languages. He was arrested several times. Johnny Clegg became famous abroad, especially in France, before becoming a star in his own country. His most celebrated song, Asimbonanga, was dedicated to Nelson Mandela.
It was the first song written with Mandela's name and released in South Africa, because you were not allowed to use his name.
Here he is seen singing Asimbonanga alongside Nelson Mandela in 2004. Mandela spent 27 years in jail for his struggle against the racist apartheid system. Johnny Clegg was born in Britain to a British father and a Zimbabwean mother. He came to South Africa when he was 7. When he was a teenager, he would secretly go and listen to black musicians. He said that initially he didn't do this for political reasons, but simply because he loved Zulu music. Johnny Clegg sold more than 5 million albums. He died of cancer at his home in Johannesburg on Tuesday, aged 66.
Did you know that the first ever animated feature film was made by a woman, German filmmaker Lotte Reniger, in 1926? Today, some of the world's top animation studios are led by females, including Disney and DreamWorks. But despite this, in the past 12 years, just 3% of the directors of animated movies were women. France 24 has met 2 French animators redrawing the industry's gender lines. Tatiana Nasser and Renaud Lefort report.
This is my grandfather's briefcase. I found it in my grandma's basement. It contains all of his personal belongings, including the script of Sahara Palace.
A script that would be brought to life 38 years later, thanks to his granddaughter and animated movies director, Zélie Durand.
On l'appelait le phénix, l'oiseau qui renaît de ses cendres. Mon grand-père a disparu à 47 ans. Je ne l'ai jamais rencontré. C'était peu de temps après avoir écrit ce scénario.
He always wanted to make it into a full-length feature film, but unfortunately, because of his illness, he couldn't. It's actually the whole story of the movie, to take hold of this idea that could not come to fruition because he passed away. And it's really sad because he worked in the industry and had the tools to do so.
Moulin represents a different kind of animation and is one of the most exported French series. In the heart of Paris, in one of the oldest animation studios, Marie-Caroline Villan meticulously supervises the production of a new episode.
C'est pas mal. Et en fait, je me demande s'il doit pas jeter un œil, tu sais, faire un mouvement comme ça.
It's good to have a show that children can watch that's made by a woman. We offer something different than the usual male stereotypes. I always try to get a message across that children can grasp. The world is beautiful, but you have to make it beautiful. This is why the character I created, Moulin, is neither male nor female. It's simply a being.
She's a self-taught filmmaker who was apprehensive about leading this team of 80 animators.
I did not have to break through the glass ceiling simply because I did not think about it. Would it have been because I'm a woman or because I was new to the industry? I can't put my finger on it. I think if I had started my career earlier and went to animation school, I would have been more determined and motivated from the beginning.
Zélie graduated from a prestigious school of animation. At just 26 years old, she isn't yet at the head of a production company, but is very rigorous in her work.
Our clients, as in the producers that hire us, are usually men, and it's hard to be taken seriously in the industry. It's already happened to me to be at a meeting where I was the person in charge of the project, and basically what happened is that people didn't look me in the eye. They basically didn't speak directly to me.
This year, her short film Sahara Palace was screened at the Annecy Festival. Zélie Durand is determined to make her comeback very soon with a feature film and extend the very small list of women filmmakers in the world of animation.
It's the 50th anniversary of one of the greatest achievements in the history of mankind this week, the Apollo 11 expedition when man first set foot on the moon. One artist who explored the idea of taking a trip to the moon 15 years before the landing was the Belgian creator Hergé in Tintin, Destination Moon and Explorers on the Moon. They're an astonishing pedagogical feat explaining complex concepts like weightlessness for a mass audience. Alex Le Bourdon and Gulliver Cragg report.
Actually, more than 15 years earlier, a famous reporter had already walked on the moon. Tintin, in a visionary 2-volume adventure by Hergé, published in the 1950s. It's fiction, of course, but specialists say it's uncannily realistic.
This is the picture on the cover of the first volume. You can see the scientific thoroughness, the launch ramps, the rocket design, the Jeep too. Though despite all these efforts from Hergé and his team, there is a small error that was never corrected. The Jeep appears to have no steering wheel. But other than that, it's an extraordinary picture because you see how the characters of Tintin and Haddock, who had taken Professor Calculus for a clown, are completely amazed when they first see what he has achieved.
There's plenty of humor in the books, but that doesn't detract from the accuracy of the drawings. From the lunar craters to the spacesuit's design, Hergé took advice from experts on every detail.
Previously, there had been various comics and illustrated stories, but they featured everything that Hergé wanted to avoid: little Martians, weird people, strange creatures, and so on. He wanted to do something that would really report the science.
As a child, Dirk Friemuth was fascinated by Tintin's adventures. Years later, he was to become the first Belgian in space. The astronaut says not everything about the comics is realistic, though, especially the slapstick zero-gravity scenes.
You don't have the sorts of accidents you see here. You have to learn to live with zero gravity. You can't make any sudden movements. You have to do everything gently.
The graphic novelist François Skeuten says the medium is particularly well suited to telling stories set in the future.
You have to walk a very thin tightrope, finding the right balance between what's real and what's imaginary, fantastical between what's real and what's a futurist vision. You have to dose it carefully so that the reader's eyes are hooked on what they see and believe in it.
Hergé found the right recipe in the 1950s. Tintin's adventures in space fed the dreams of a whole generation. The generation that was to see people walk on the moon for real just 15 years later.
The moon has inspired artists, painters, composers and poets since the beginning of time. We're going to leave you with images of a fabulous exhibition that's coming to an end at Paris's Grand Palais, which shows just how loony for the moon we still are 50 years after setting foot on it. The moon, from real travel to imaginary journeys, starts with the expedition of Apollo 11 and takes visitors on a voyage through time. Remember our website. We're also on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. There's more news coming up on France 24 after this.
Don't be afraid to care. Leave, don't leave me. Look around.